Hello. So I thought I'd try making a video. This will be an impromptu video, mainly about Parma and about. It's going to be a bit more reflective, about a bit more philosophical, about how to play FPL more contentedly with less of the pain that seems to be occurring quite often. So yeah, so I captained Parma in the end. Yeah, what do I want to talk about in this video? So, yeah, I've been getting a lot of red arrows lately, and I captained Palmer. He blanked, and I noticed as well on Twitter, like a lot of people, it seemed to be quite stingy, even more stingy than normal. A lot of people on Twitter seem to be really feeling it, and maybe it's this part of the season. Things are hotting up, ranks are in flux. Yeah, so it was a stingy one. I wanted to reflect on it. I want to talk about being cautious of the narratives we draw from FPL sometimes. There are other things going on sometimes. I want to talk about 50-50s and how we beat ourselves up over them, but they should be they should be easier. We should beat ourselves up less over them. And I want to talk about like happiness hacks and like letting go and being okay with having a bad rank. And yeah, I want to get into all that kind of stuff, kind of like spiritual philosophical stuff about that, maybe at the end. And I like how one of the things I love about FPL is how it's like a microcosm of life sometimes, and a lot of the patterns in FPL extend to wider life. So I want to talk about that a bit. But basically, so I captained Palmer in the end. I was originally on Salah, 60-40 on Salah. I didn't think Newcastle was that bad of a fixture. It's Wednesday today, so we don't know how it's going to go yet. Didn't think it was that bad of a fixture. Salah's great form, and I wanted to play safe. That was my thinking. And then Tuesday morning, a few things happened. One was that I started discovering that a lot of the analytics community were going for Palmer. Now, you might think that's a bit sheep-like. Maybe it is. But with FPL, like, I don't know everything in FPL, and so quite often I have to I outsource my decision making to others. Like if I needed to figure out who's the best Bournemouth pick or something, I might look to Bournemouth fans and see what they think, because I don't know and they know more, and I may trust that. I'm not 100%, but I respect their opinion more than my own analysis maybe. And with analytics communities, I always remember this graph here, which is like last season. I think this was all the analytics mini leagues just did way better than all the other leagues. Now, it's not guaranteed they're going to be right all the time, things like this. That's not the end of it. But I just have a kind of respect for that. And I already knew that Palmer's, if you cut it by XG, he's comes out higher than Salah. Because it's Chelsea and it's Palmer versus Southampton. Whereas Salah versus Newcastle, if there's going to be a tough game there, it's more likely to be Liverpool-Newcastle than Chelsea-Southampton. So I knew the reasoning behind it. And that was just one little thing that was tipping me that so many people were going for Palmer, it's particularly analytics communities. Then I learned that Bednarek and Taylor Harwood-Bellis were probably out of the game, and that was an already bad Southampton defence just made it even worse. I did read a tweet by FPL Pricey. I think a lot of people, that went a bit viral, didn't it? Talking about other things. I think there was a defensive midfielder who's potentially out as well, and it all looked a bit grim for Southampton. So that was adding to it. And then the other thing, the big thing, and I mentioned this in my last video, is that I've been building up this narrative. And this is what I mean by being cautious of narratives, maybe. But I've been building up this narrative that in the last few weeks, there's been this safety versus chasing narrative. And the chasers just keep winning. And going safe, for me, just keeps losing. Apart from these two. So basically, I had all this luck all the way up here, loads of green arrows, got right up into the top 3K. And then I started playing safe. Once I got here, I started playing the EO game, started playing safe, and as a result, it seemed like I was getting these red arrows. And the only two times I got green arrows was when I went for Moyes and Emery, and then back here to kind of getting red arrows again. And so that narrative of like safety versus chasing was building in my head. And then I thought, well, maybe I should just grab onto the coattails of the chasers, and maybe if I go for Palmer, I might get back to that spirit I had at the start of the season. Maybe I should just go for that. So there was something about that I liked. And so that is what I did. And it didn't come through. And just a quick look at, so I mean, I think I was quite unlucky. Like Southampton, a lot of that was right. So 2.4 xg, Chelsea cooked up against Southampton. They did score 4 goals, and Palmer got most of that xg. 1.3 was his, 1.4 xgi altogether. 7 shots, pretty unlucky. Some of this was close as well. If you watch the highlights, some of it, he had an assist that just missed the back post, and if somebody got a touch on that, that'd have been higher as well. So it was pretty unlucky. And you might say, well, what do I want to say? First thing I want to say is 50-50s. One thing I've been learning this season is that I sometimes feel like analysis and data and research only get you so far, and then you can get to a point where you can whittle down to a basket of like half a dozen picks, or captaincy, 2 or 3 captaincies. And then once you get to that point where you're splitting hairs, we just excruciating detail trying to figure out between a 50-50, and it's really, really tight. Because I mean, me picking Salah and Palmer, between those two, I almost felt like imagine a 50-50 that was so perfectly balanced that you just froze in time forever. You just never made the decision. I almost felt like that. I just couldn't decide between the two of them. I just had to pick. And it's like, when you've got a decision like that, I almost feel like it doesn't matter. Like when you get to that basket of just a few picks that there's really not much to choose from, I almost feel like it doesn't matter that much, because variance is just going to, there's so much variance in the game, it's going to come in and make you look like either an idiot or a genius. And with decisions like that, there's not much to pick between them, maybe. And then on top of that, after the outcome as well, you should beat yourself up less. It's weird the way we beat ourselves up over the 50-50s more than some of the other ones. And we should probably beat ourselves up less, because it was just 2 fine decisions. And then you have variance that comes in and makes you look like an idiot or not. And so that's the 50-50 thing. And another thing about being cautious about the narratives you conclude, because one of the things that affects your narrative sometimes is hindsight. Before the fact, you've got all the pros and cons of Palmer, all the pros and cons of Salah, feels pretty even. But then after the fact, when you look back in hindsight, all of a sudden now, all I see is all the negatives of Palmer, and I've just forgotten all the positives. And it's like, oh, I'm such an idiot. He had 1 assist in the last 5 games. What was I thinking? But it wasn't that, was it? Because it was like the punt was, the reasoning was that when you play a team like Southampton, that's the kind of game where a player can find their shooting boots again. That's the kind of game where a player will find their form again. And it happened with Nkunku and Neto. They've been kind of blanking and off the radar for a lot of people, and they found their shooting boots. So that does happen, you know. And Palmer's done that earlier in the season as well, where he's gone blank for a bit and then just rocked up and with a haul. So it was all very like, you got to go careful with hindsight, careful with your narratives, what narratives you choose. And it's the same with me building these narratives of like safety versus chasing. And I don't actually know that that's true, that that's what's happening. Sometimes when you're having good luck or bad luck, especially when you're having bad luck, you can conclude that you're playing very badly, but you might not be. It might just be variance, bad luck. And what else do I want to say about that? Because, you know, I've got this narrative that I've been playing really well, playing with like freedom, and then I got to a good rank, and now I'm clenching up. But I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. I've been playing fairly similar, maybe a little bit safer, but then that's kind of logical. It might just be that I've been having just normal bad luck. I mean, you're going to get some bad luck. In fact, you know, I'm still having average luck. Some people have way worse luck. And people who have very, very bad luck, they should be careful not to think that they're playing badly. They may be playing absolutely fine. And I mean, this yellow line is probably more of a reflection of the way I'm playing. I'm presuming anyway. Not necessarily, but that's a more trustworthy line, I think. So I might be doing fine. You've got to be careful with the narratives you build. And also, the other thing about the higher rank you get, the harder it is to get green arrows, right? Because I mean, people sometimes say the good thing about having a low rank is it's easier to get green arrows. So the higher up you go, the harder it is to get green arrows. And so it may have nothing to do with the way I'm playing. It may just be purely because I've just overshot where my true deserved rank is, which is probably a bit lower than that. And so I'm just kind of naturally regressing back to where I'm probably expected to be. Which I think, I don't know, but I'm guessing my true rank this season is I'm probably going to end up about 25k. The last 2 seasons I was on about this yellow line. I think FPL Review had me at about like 100k-ish, something like that. This season, if this is prime and I'm right around the middle of it, I think the average for prime is like here on the FPL Review, it says the average, tell me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows better than this, said the median manager would expect to finish about 70k. And I've seen graphs like this, where is it? This, which is, this is the Elite 1000. Their average rank here, if you take the average of the last 5, is about 50k. So if I'm kind of, where is it? If I'm going along there, I guess that means my average rank is about 50k. And if I've had all this luck at the start of the season, then maybe I should expect to end up on average about 25k. That would be like the normal range, but then you've got huge amounts of luck and variance that can swing. I could swing back down to like outside top 500k maybe, who knows. So yeah, just being cautious of the narratives you conclude in this game. I think it may have nothing to do with good luck, bad luck, decision making, all that kind of stuff. It might just be variance. Then what else do I want to say? So I guess the big thing I want to say though is that this game can get quite stingy, and having all this luck here felt really nice, and then all of these red arrows recently have like been stinging, and I feel like they've been stinging more than they did in previous seasons. And I think the reason is because the higher rank you get, the more you let it go to your head and your heart. The more you start to associate your happiness with your rank and identify with it. And then when you start getting red arrows, it's like it stings more. And there's a phrase, people say power corrupts and money corrupts. I think rank corrupts as well. I think it's the same pattern in life. And this is what I like about FPL, and it's like a microcosm of wider life sometimes. And in spiritual circles and things like that, without getting too deep, but they sometimes say that happiness is about letting go, and there's this law in kind of like new age circles of like the law of reverse effect. The more you try for something, the more you want something, the less likely you ought to get it. And I see this pattern sometimes where if you make peace with going down the ladder, getting to the bottom of the ladder, then everything else is a bonus on top and you don't worry about it so much. Whereas when you start caring, grasping for the top, and you start trying to get to the top, then you start panicking, you start grasping, and it might affect your play worse. You'll probably end up doing worse than you would have done anyway. Pardon me. And so what I've been trying to think about is I've been trying to let go. And like when I was playing as a casual, I remember my goal every year was to just finish in like the top 20%, because I figured that's like Champions League. Like if you finish in the top 20%, that's like the top 4 of 20 teams is qualifying for the Champions League. That's pretty good. This season it would be top 25%, top 5, maybe. So that's like finishing in the top 3 million. So it's like pretty good. I'd be thinking, well, that's okay. And anybody that's happy finishing outside the top 3 mil is probably very free. Like that's pure freedom. If you don't care what rank you got, you can just play the game for fun, without caring about it at all. That's there's a lot of benefits from being a loser and having a terrible rank, and I'm trying to kind of like get back to accepting that. And I often see this in life, like people that grasp for the top of life, I'm not sure that's where happiness. A lot of the spiritual teachers in life, like monks and stuff, they go down to the bottom of the ladder. They renounce money, they renounce power, they renounce all kinds of like worldly pleasures, and arguably they seem like some of the happiest people on the planet, and that's where like the freedom is. So with the ranks, like whenever I think to myself, one happiness hack in life is to make peace with the worst case scenario. So if I just kind of think, what's the worst case scenario here? Let's just say I plummet. I'm probably not going to plummet worse than 500k, but even if I did, let's say I just plummeted, who knows? Maybe I'll just go on tilt. Maybe I'll just start punting like crazy. Who knows what I'll do? And I'll end up outside the top mill, where it's like, who cares? Like, so what? If I do that, then I do that. And once I start making peace with that, all of a sudden the game becomes much more enjoyable again. Whereas when I'm like, no man, I need to be top 10k, and like I get a taste for it, and I like, I hate league. I want to get top 10k, then I want to be top 1k, then I want to be top 100. It's just like the more you want that, the more pain it's going to cause you, I think. Now maybe this is loser talk. Some people might think this is that's the pressure you have if you want to be the top. I don't know, but I don't think so. Yes, I think that's how it is, and it's I wrote down here, it's like Harry Potter, because like Harry Potter, like he was because he had those humble upbringing. When he got loads of money and loads of power, it didn't go to his head. And I think you have to make your peace with. If you make your peace with having a crap rank, then it doesn't matter so much what happens. So yeah, what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say I'm trying to get some distance from the game a bit. Get a bit more distance. Who cares what happens? I just want to kind of like play the game like a scientist. Just play it and just see what happens. And then just see where the chips fall. And sometimes variance is going to fall in my favour, sometimes it won't. But I don't want to identify with either. There's a great quote in the Dhammapada, again getting very spiritual here, but I'm not a Buddhist, but I just like this. It says, conquest begets enmity, the conquered live in misery, the peaceful live happily, having renounced conquest and defeat. Which is basically winners and losers. When you're a winner all the time, it creates hatred and enmity is the idea here, because like when you care about your rank a lot and you're going up and you start to kind of identify yourself with the rank, then other people who have good ranks become a threat. Now that other people have good ranks, well, they're now a threat to you because you want a good rank and you want to be the best rank. And so it creates that kind of hatred and enmity towards other people. And then if it's the same kind of way of thinking, when you lose, you live in pain and misery because you're a loser. You start identifying like that. Whereas the peaceful live happily. Other translations like just beyond defeat, beyond victory, winning and losing. If you can just step outside the game a little bit more and just kind of like see it for what it is, and it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, you're just playing the game. That's where I'm trying to get. I think that's a happier way to play, I think. So there's that, and I often wonder as well, there's two ways to play this game. Like sometimes it's weird that with this game, why do I share all my tips and hints with other people? Because we're all technically competing against each other. And there's two ways to play the game. You can play with that sense of like we're competing and I want to be better than everybody else. But another way we play, which is the way like most of us seem to kind of intuitively play without questioning, it's like almost like we're all playing as a team, and we're all sharing our tips, and we're all trying to kind of collectively beat the machine. We're all collectively trying to solve the game. And when we play as a big team, all collectively trying to solve the game, when one of us does well, now it feels good. If one person gets a good rank, it's like we're all collectively as a team trying to help each other out. And then some of us do well, and now it's like a good thing because we're like collectively trying to beat the game rather than individually playing against each other. I think there might be like a little bit of truth there as well. So I think that's all the thoughts. I had some complicated thoughts I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, FPL is funny though, like that. It's a microcosm of our real life, and I sometimes think like every 50-50 we have, it's like every 50-50 we've ever had in our entire lives, of like all the decisions, the tough decisions, career decisions, relationship decisions. I feel like a similar fear grips us, and it might be subconscious, but same with like conformity as well. Like whenever there's lots of people in a community move for one player, our subconscious peer pressure fears from back at school kick in, and we feel the same things, and it's like, oh no. And it's an interesting game. I feel like it triggers all these kind of, it's like a safe place to play out all these kind of different things going on in your head. So yeah, but anyway, that's my waffle. So I captained Palmer, it didn't work out. My rank is plummeting again. It's probably going to plummet some more, and that's fine. And I think I'll probably end up about 25k, maybe 50k, but who knows? Maybe I'll make some really bad decisions and I'll finish outside the top 500k. I mean, I'm like, what is it? I'd have to lose about 93 points to get outside. Oh no, 118 points to top outside, finish outside the top 500k. But maybe I will. Like, who cares? Let's just play. Let's have fun. Let's try and solve the game a bit. I'll keep going. I'll try and get a good rank. But I think that's the thing I'm trying to get to, is like, I don't want to attach myself to the rank too much. Like, who cares? I'll keep trying to do my best, but it doesn't matter. And I think that will make the game less stingy. I think I need to distance myself from it a bit more. Yep, I think that's what I wanted to say. Yep, and just being cautious not to draw narratives, the wrong narratives. Because, like, there's luck as well. Like, I've got all these green arrows here, but there's if you've got 1,000 people who flip heads and tails in a room, and they flip heads and tails, they're all flipping heads and tails like 100 times or something, or whatever I can't remember, 10 times. One of those people, there'll be one person in a room that will flip heads 10 times in a row when you've got enough people playing. And that one person will probably think they're really lucky, and they'll think, oh yeah, I just had this vibe and I had this feeling and the universe loved me and everything like this. And it won't be anything to do with that. It will just be pure luck. Luck can do that, and it can have nothing to do with your way you're playing at all. It's just pure luck, the way it falls. So yeah, so you've got to be careful the narratives you come to. And the only other thing I was going to say was, like, the reason why rank corrupts as well is, like, you'd think it would be easy to kind of just distance yourself, but when I was having all this luck here, I was having luck in like my whole life, and it felt really good. I remember having feelings like maybe the universe doesn't hate me. Like, maybe this is what it must feel like for the people that have lots of luck, the people that actually think that God loves them. Like, this must be what it feels like to have all this luck. And it was just everything was going my way, and I was like, oh mate, it was so nice. And then now I've gone back to, oh yeah, God hates me again. I've gone back to my normal state of like, oh yeah, okay. But it's like, that's how enticing it is though. It's very enticing to be like, you take it to heart and think, oh wow, that's good. So that's the trap though, I think. You got to kind of, I don't know. I guess you got to kind of believe that the universe loves you no matter what. And like, this is just luck playing out. I don't know. Let's not get too deep. But that's my thoughts. So I've probably lost loads of followers ranting like that, but just wanted to get it out. Anyway, I might make another video after the FA Cup, and we'll get back to FPL talk. Yeah, okay, I'll leave it there. See you later. Bye-bye.